Her secret son became her billionaire CEO, ex-husband's intern. For 3 months, they worked side by side without knowing the truth, until she made one mistake that changed everything. Part 2. 3 weeks passed without a word from Ethan. 3 weeks of Madelyn staring at her phone, willing it to ring. 3 weeks of typing and deleting text messages that all sounded either too desperate or too casual. 3 weeks of waking up at 3 a.m. with her heart pounding, replaying that terrible Sunday morning in an endless loop of guilt and regret. She'd never gone this long without hearing from her son. Even during his semester abroad in London, they'd video called twice a week. The silence was a physical presence in her apartment, heavy and suffocating. On Monday of the 4th week, Madelyn broke. She sat at her kitchen table with her laptop open, searching for Ethan's name online like some obsessed stalker. His LinkedIn profile showed he was still listed as an intern at Walker Technologies, at least he hadn't quit. His Instagram hadn't been updated in weeks, but that wasn't unusual. Ethan had never been particularly active on social media. Her phone rang, and Madelyn lunged for it with embarrassing desperation. Davis's name flashed on the screen. "Hello." She tried to sound composed and failed miserably. "Have you heard from him?" Davis asked without preamble. No greeting, no small talk. They'd moved past that in the weeks since the revelation. "No, nothing." "You?" "He came to my office yesterday," Davis said, and Madelyn's heart seized. He wanted to talk about his career trajectory at Walker Technologies. Just his career? Nothing else? Nothing else. Davis's voice was flat, professionally neutral. He was polite, professional, completely appropriate. We discussed his interest in the analytics division, his long-term goals, potential mentorship opportunities. It was a perfectly normal meeting between a CEO and a promising intern. "Davis. He called me Mr. Walker," Davis continued, and now she could hear the pain underneath the professional veneer. The entire meeting, it was, "Yes, Mr. Walker," and "Thank you for your time, Mr. Walker." Like we were strangers. Like I hadn't told him I was his father less than a month ago. Madelyn closed her eyes. "At least he's talking to you." "He's talking to his CEO," Davis corrected. "He's completely shut down anything personal. When I tried to ask how he was really doing, he changed the subject to quarterly projections." "Maybe that's how he needs to process this," Madelyn offered weakly. "By compartmentalizing. Or maybe he's decided that having a professional relationship with me is the only relationship he's willing to have." Davis exhaled heavily. "I've had 3 weeks to think about what I lost. Madelyn. 22 years of bedtime stories and school plays and teaching him to ride a bike and..." His voice cracked. "And watching him become the person he is, I missed all of it. And now that I finally know he exists, he won't even look me in the eye." "I'm sorry," Madelyn whispered. It was all she seemed to say anymore. "Sorry, sorry, sorry." The word had lost all meaning through repetition. "I know you are," Davis said, "but it doesn't change anything. I have a son who treats me like a stranger, and a daughter who's going to ask me why I look sad whenever I visit. And I can't even explain it to her because Ethan hasn't decided if he wants to acknowledge that relationship exists." "Have you thought about what you'll tell Isabella?" "Every damn day," Davis said. "But Ethan made it clear he's not ready for that conversation. And I won't force him. I've already lost 22 years with one child. I'm not going to risk alienating the other one by dropping this on her before everyone's ready." They sat in silence, connected by phones and guilt, and the shared devastation of loving someone who wanted nothing to do with either of them. "The board meeting is next week," Davis said eventually. "The one where we announce the new analytics initiative. Ethan's research is the foundation of the entire project." "Will you tell them?" Madelyn asked. "About your conflict of interest?" "What conflict of interest?" Davis's laugh was bitter. "My son treats me like a stranger he happens to work for. That's not exactly nepotism." "Davis, I have to go," he said abruptly. "Board prep meeting in 10 minutes. If you hear from him, I'll let you know," Madelyn promised. The line went dead. Madelyn sat in her empty apartment, surrounded by photographs of Ethan at every age. Ethan as a baby, all toothless gums and wispy hair. Ethan at 5, missing his front teeth and grinning at his first day of kindergarten. Ethan at 13, awkward and gangly in his bar mitzvah suit. Ethan at 18, accepting his high school diploma. A life documented in careful detail. A life she'd built alone, by choice. And now that choice was destroying everything. On Thursday, Madelyn ran into Sarah Chen at the coffee shop near her apartment. "Madelyn." Sarah's face lit up with genuine warmth. "I've been meaning to call you. How's everything going with Ethan's internship?" Madelyn forced a smile that felt like it might crack her face open. "Good, really good. He's brilliant, you know," Sarah continued, oblivious to Madelyn's distress. "Davis was just telling me yesterday that Ethan's analytics model is going to revolutionize our customer retention strategy. We're potentially talking about millions in saved revenue." "That's wonderful," Madelyn managed. "And Davis has taken such an interest in mentoring him," Sarah added. "It's unusual for him to get so personally involved with interns, but I suppose exceptional talent recognizes exceptional talent. If only you knew," Madelyn thought. "Actually," Sarah said, her tone shifting to something more cautious, "I wanted to ask you something. It's probably nothing, but is everything okay between you and Davis?" Madelyn's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "I've noticed some tension," Sarah said carefully. "At company events, you both seem to go out of your way to avoid each other. And Davis gets this look on his face sometimes when Ethan's name comes up like he's in pain. I just wondered if there was some history there I should know about." "We knew each other a long time ago," Madelyn said, which was technically true. "College. It didn't end well." "Ah," Sarah nodded knowingly. "Old wounds. That explains the awkwardness. Well, I hope you can both move past it eventually. Life's too short for carrying grudges. If only it were that simple." Sarah glanced at her watch. "I should run meeting in 15. But let's grab lunch soon, okay? I feel like we haven't really talked since that dinner party." "Sure," Madelyn agreed, knowing she'd make excuses to avoid it. After Sarah left, Madelyn sat with her untouched coffee, watching the world move around her, people ordering lattes, typing on laptops, laughing with friends. Normal people living normal lives, unburdened by catastrophic secrets that had exploded in their faces. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mum needs to talk to you. Call me." Diane Walker, Davis's sister. They'd met exactly twice during Madelyn's brief marriage, once at the wedding, once at a strained Thanksgiving dinner where Diane had made it clear she thought Madelyn wasn't good enough for her little brother. Madelyn's hands shook as she dialed the number. "Madelyn." Diane's voice was cold. "Thank you for calling back. What's this about?" "Don't play stupid," Diane snapped. "I know about Ethan. Davis told me everything last night, and I have some things to say to you." Madelyn's stomach dropped. "Diane, I know you're angry." "Angry?" Diane laughed harshly. "Angry doesn't begin to cover what I'm feeling. You stole my nephew from me. You stole my parents' grandson. Do you have any idea what that knowledge is doing to my mother? She's been crying for 2 days straight. I never meant. I don't care what you meant." Diane's voice rose. "You disappeared without a word. You kept Davis's child from him for over 2 decades, and now you have the audacity to act like you're the victim in this situation?" "I don't think I'm the victim," Madelyn said quietly. "Good, because you're not. You're the villain. And that sweet boy, that brilliant young man who did nothing wrong, is the one suffering because his mother is a selfish, cowardly liar." Each word landed like a slap, and Madelyn took them because she deserved every one. "My parents want to meet him," Diane continued. "They want to meet their grandson. But Davis says Ethan isn't ready, that we all need to give him space. Do you know how hard it is to know your grandson exists and not be able to reach out to him?" "Yes," Madelyn whispered. "I do." "Oh, that's rich," Diane scoffed. "You're comparing a few weeks of silence to 22 years of lies? You're even more delusional than I thought. What do you want from me, Diane?" "I want you to fix this," Diane said. "I want you to make this right, but you can't, can you? Because some things are too broken to repair." "I'm trying." "Try harder," Diane interrupted. My brother is falling apart. He's pretending everything is fine, but I know him. He's devastated, and my parents are devastated, and Ethan is clearly devastated. The only person who doesn't seem to be suffering enough is you. You have no idea what I'm going through, Madelyn said, her own anger finally breaking through. You're right, I don't, Diane agreed. But I know what you put everyone else through. And I know that if my nephew never speaks to you again, it's exactly what you deserve. The line went dead. Madelyn sat in the coffee shop, phone still pressed to her ear, and felt the last pieces of her composure crumble. Diane was right. She deserved all of this, the silence from Ethan, the pain in Davis's voice, the judgment from his family. She'd built this prison herself, brick by brick, lie by lie, and now she was locked inside it with no way out. Friday night, Madelyn stood outside Ethan's apartment building. She'd promised to give him space, but 4 weeks was long enough. She needed to see him, to know he was okay, to apologize in person for the 1,000th time if that's what it took. She buzzed his apartment. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. He's not home, came a voice behind her. Madelyn turned to find a young woman in running clothes, presumably another tenant. Do you know when he'll be back? Couldn't say, the woman replied, pulling out her key. But I saw him leave this morning with a suitcase, so probably not tonight. A suitcase. Ethan had left with a suitcase. Madelyn's vision swam. Had he left the city? Left the internship? Left everything because being here meant being near her and Davis, and the truth he didn't want to face? She called his phone. Straight to voicemail. She tried texting, "Please, just let me know you're okay." No response. She stood on the street outside her son's building until the streetlights came on, until her feet ached from standing still, until she had to accept that he wasn't coming home and he didn't want to talk to her. When she finally returned to her own apartment, there was a message waiting on her answering machine. Her lawyer, Miss Wilson, "This is Robert Chen. I need you to call me as soon as possible. We've received some documentation regarding your divorce from Mr. Walker that requires immediate attention. Please call me back tonight if possible." Madelyn's blood turned to ice. What documentation? The divorce had been finalized over 20 years ago. Unless Davis was taking legal action. Unless he was suing for, what? Lost time with his son? Emotional damages? She didn't even know if that was possible, but Davis had money and lawyers and every right to want to hurt her the way she'd hurt him. She called Robert back with shaking hands. "Madelyn, thank you for calling," Robert said. "I received a very interesting request from Davis Walker's legal team today." "What kind of request?" "He wants to revisit the divorce settlement," Robert explained. "Specifically, he wants to void the original agreement on grounds of fraud." "Fraud?" "He's arguing that you withheld material information, namely, your pregnancy during the divorce proceedings, and that had he known about the child, he never would have agreed to the terms. Technically, he has a case." "What does that mean?" Madelyn asked, though she already knew the answer. "It means he could potentially seek custody arrangements, retroactive child support, amendments to the original divorce settlement." "Madelyn, this could get very complicated very quickly." "He wouldn't do that," Madelyn said. But even as she spoke, she wasn't sure. The Davis she'd known wouldn't have. But the man Davis had become, the CEO, who'd built an empire through ruthless strategic thinking, that Davis might do exactly that. "I'm not saying he will," Robert said carefully. "But the legal framework is there, if he chooses to pursue it. We should meet next week to discuss your options." After the call ended, Madelyn sat in the dark of her apartment, phone clutched in her hand, and realized she'd finally hit bottom. Her son wouldn't speak to her. Her ex-husband's family hated her. Her ex-husband himself might be preparing to destroy her legally, and she had no one to blame but herself. She'd thought the worst part of this nightmare would be the revelation itself, sitting in this very room and watching Ethan's world shatter. But she'd been wrong. The worst part was this, the aftermath. The slow disintegration of everything she'd built, relationship by relationship, piece by piece. The darkest hour wasn't the explosion, it was the fallout. And Madelyn was standing right in the center of the blast zone, watching everything burn. The email arrived at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Madelyn had been lying awake as she did most nights, now staring at the ceiling and mentally cataloguing all the ways she'd destroyed her life. When her phone lit up with a notification, she grabbed it with the desperate hope that had become her constant companion. From ethan.wilson@walkertech.com. Subject: We need to talk. Mum, I've been doing a lot of thinking these past 4 weeks. I went to Uncle James's cabin upstate. He doesn't know why I needed it, so don't worry about him knowing. I needed space to process everything away from the city, away from you and Davis, away from all of it. I'm still angry. I don't know if that anger is ever going to completely go away. But I've realized something. Staying angry doesn't change what happened. It just makes me miserable. I need to hear your side of the story. Not the sanitized version you gave me that Sunday, but the whole truth. Every reason, every fear, every thought that went through your head when you decided to leave and keep me a secret. I'll be back in the city Wednesday evening. Can you meet me at the apartment at 7 p.m.? I'm not promising forgiveness, but I'm willing to listen. Ethan. Madelyn read the email 17 times, tears streaming down her face. He was willing to listen. After 4 weeks of silence, after 4 weeks of imagining she'd lost him forever, her son was giving her a chance. She typed and retyped her response a dozen times before settling on something simple. I'll be there. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I love you. She didn't sleep the rest of that night, or the next. By Wednesday evening, she'd rehearsed what she would say so many times the words had lost all meaning. But when she stood outside Ethan's apartment door at exactly 7 p.m., her carefully prepared speech evaporated from her mind. Ethan opened the door. He looked thinner, older somehow, like he'd aged years in the span of a month. But his eyes were clear, no longer clouded with the initial shock and rage. Come in, he said simply. The apartment was exactly as Madelyn remembered it. She'd helped him move in last year, had picked out curtains and argued about furniture placement. But now it felt foreign, like she was entering a stranger's space rather than her son's home. They sat across from each other at his small dining table. Ethan had made coffee, a gesture so normal it made Madelyn want to cry. I don't know where to start, Madelyn admitted. Start at the beginning, Ethan said. You met Davis in college. You got married. You got pregnant. Walk me through the decision to leave. Madelyn took a shaky breath. We were so young. God, we were babies playing at being adults. I was 22 when I found out I was pregnant with you. Davis had just started his PhD program, working 18-hour days trying to develop the algorithm that would eventually become the foundation of Walker Technologies. Did you even give him the slightest hint? Ethan asked. About the pregnancy? No. Madelyn's voice cracked. I took the test alone, in the bathroom of our tiny apartment, and I panicked. All I could see was Davis's future crumbling. He was brilliant, Ethan. Everyone knew he was going to do something extraordinary, and I convinced myself that a baby would destroy that. So you left to protect him? I told myself that's what I was doing, Madelyn said. But that's not the whole truth. The whole truth is that I was terrified of being a mother. My own mother had been cold, distant, more interested in her career than in me. I was afraid I'd be the same way. I was afraid I'd resent you for existing, for trapping me in a life I didn't choose. Ethan absorbed this silently. I was also afraid of Davis's family, Madelyn continued. His parents came from old money, the kind of people who summer in the Hamptons and winter in Aspen. They'd never fully accepted me. I was too naive, too ordinary, too ethnic for their perfect son. Ethnic? Ethan raised an eyebrow. Your grandmother made several pointed comments about my exotic features and asked if I was really American, Madelyn said bitterly. When I left, part of me was relieved I wouldn't have to deal with them anymore. I wouldn't have to watch them look at our baby and wonder if we were good enough for the Walker family legacy. But you said Davis loved you, Ethan pressed. If he loved you, wouldn't he have fought for you, for us? I didn't give him the chance, Madelyn whispered. I disappeared. I changed my name back to Wilson. I moved to Brooklyn. I found work as a paralegal. I made sure I couldn't be found because I was a coward who couldn't face the consequences of my choices. And when I asked about my father growing up, All those times I wanted to know where I came from? Every question was a knife to the heart, Madelyn said. I wanted to tell you. God, there were so many times I almost told you, but the lie had grown so big that I didn't know how to dismantle it without losing you. You were more afraid of losing me than you were committed to telling me the truth, Ethan said flatly. Yes, Madelyn admitted. That's exactly right. I was selfish and scared, and I chose my own comfort over your right to know your father. Ethan stood and walked to the window, his back to her. Do you have any idea what it was like, growing up without a father, watching other kids with their dads at school events, at baseball games, at graduation, wondering what was so wrong with me that my father didn't want to be part of my life? There was nothing wrong with you, Madelyn said desperately. Ethan, you have to believe that. This was never about you. It was always about my failures, my fears, my inability to face what I'd done. But it affected me anyway. Ethan turned to face her. Your choices shaped my entire life. Every insecurity I had about not being good enough, every time I wondered why I wasn't worth sticking around for, that was because of your lie. I know, Madelyn said, and I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it, Ethan said. Sorry doesn't give me back the relationship I could have had with Davis. Sorry doesn't introduce me to my sister before she's practically a teenager. Sorry doesn't undo 22 years of lies. I know that too. They sat in heavy silence. Outside, the city hummed with life sirens wailing, people laughing, the eternal rhythm of New York continuing regardless of personal catastrophes. I talked to Davis, Ethan said finally. Last week. A real conversation, not the professional dance we've been doing at the office. Madelyn's heart jumped. What did he say? He told me about the day you left, how he came home from the lab and found the note, how he tore apart the apartment looking for clues about where you'd gone. He said he reported you missing, hired a private investigator, called everyone who'd ever known you. Ethan's voice was thick with emotion. He said the not knowing was worse than anything. At least if you'd told him you didn't love him anymore, he could have processed it and moved on. But you just vanished, like you'd never existed. I didn't realize, Madelyn started. No, you didn't, Ethan interrupted. You didn't realize a lot of things because you were too busy protecting yourself to think about anyone else. The truth of it hit like a physical blow. But here's the thing I've come to understand, Ethan continued. You're not the only one who made mistakes. Davis told me about his schedule back then, how obsessed he was with his work. He said there were weeks when he barely saw you, when he came home after you were asleep and left before you woke up. He said he was so focused on building a future for you both that he forgot to be present in the present. That doesn't excuse what I did, Madelyn said. No, it doesn't, Ethan agreed. But it provides context. You were two kids who had no business being married, who were in way over their heads and didn't know how to ask for help. You made a catastrophic choice, but it came from a place of fear and isolation, not malice. When did you become so wise? Madelyn asked, her voice breaking. When I spent 4 weeks alone in a cabin with nothing but my thoughts and Uncle James's surprisingly extensive self-help book collection, Ethan said with a ghost of a smile. Turns out forced solitude gives you a lot of time for perspective. He returned to the table, sitting down heavily. I'm still processing all of this, and I'm still angry, but I've realized that staying angry and refusing to speak to you doesn't hurt you as much as it hurts me. You're my mom. You raised me, you supported me, you loved me even when you were lying to me. That doesn't erase the lie, but it also doesn't erase everything else. Ethan, let me finish, he said gently. I don't know what our relationship looks like going forward. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust you again, but I want to try. I want to find a way forward where I have both a mother and a father in my life, even if that looks different from what I imagined. Madelyn reached across the table, and after a moment's hesitation, Ethan took her hand. I spoke to a therapist, Ethan continued, someone who specializes in family trauma. She helped me understand that forgiveness isn't about condoning what happened. It's about choosing not to let what happened define the rest of my life. Are you saying you forgive me? Madelyn asked, afraid to hope. I'm saying I'm working toward forgiveness, Ethan corrected. It's not going to happen overnight, but I'm willing to try if you're willing to be completely honest with me from now on. No more secrets, no more protecting me from difficult truths. Can you do that? Yes, Madelyn said without hesitation. Anything. I'll do anything. Good, Ethan said. Because I need to know something, and I need the absolute truth. Did you ever regret having me? The question hung in the air between them, terrible in its vulnerability. Never, Madelyn said fiercely. Not for one single second of your entire life. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Ethan. The only thing I regret is how I handled everything else around your existence. But you were wanted and loved from the moment I felt you move inside me. That's the one thing I never lied about. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. Okay. I needed to hear that. Is there anything else you need to hear? Madelyn asked. Anything else you need to know? Yeah, Ethan said, wiping his eyes. I need to know if you're going to be okay with me having a relationship with Davis and with his family, because I want that. I want to know my father, and I want to meet my sister, and I want to try to build something with the family I didn't know I had, but I can't do that if it's going to destroy you. You build whatever relationships you need, Madelyn said firmly. Davis is your father. Isabella is your sister. The Walkers are your family. You've gone 22 years without them because of my choices. I won't let my discomfort keep you from them for one more day. That's going to be hard for you, Ethan observed. Watching me build a relationship with the man you left, with the family that never accepted you. Probably, Madelyn admitted. But hard is the price I pay for the choices I made, and you're worth any amount of hard. Ethan nodded slowly. Davis wants to meet. The three of us together. He thinks we need to establish some ground rules, some boundaries, figure out how to navigate this situation without everything exploding again. When? This weekend, Saturday afternoon, his place. Ethan squeezed her hand. Are you ready for that? Madelyn thought about the past 4 weeks, the silence, the guilt, the fear that she'd lost everything that mattered. She thought about Davis's pain and his family's anger and the legal threats that might still be hanging over her head. But mostly she thought about her son, sitting across from her, offering her a second chance she didn't deserve. I'm ready, she said, for whatever comes next. I'm ready. Saturday arrived with the weight of inevitability. Madelyn stood outside Davis Walker's penthouse at exactly 2 p.m., her hand hovering over the buzzer. Through the glass doors, she could see the elegant lobby with its modern art installations and doorman in crisp uniform. A stark reminder of the vast distance between the life Davis had built and the modest existence she'd carved out for herself and Ethan. She pressed the buzzer before she could talk herself out of it. Miss Wilson, the doorman's voice crackled through the intercom. Mr. Walker is expecting you. 23rd floor, penthouse suite. The elevator ride felt interminable. Madelyn watched the numbers climb, her reflection distorted in the polished brass doors. She dressed carefully, professional but not severe, a navy dress that said, I'm taking this seriously, without screaming, I'm terrified. Her hands trembled, despite her best efforts to appear calm. The elevator opened directly into Davis's penthouse foyer, and there he was, standing in the entrance to his living room, wearing jeans and a casual button-down shirt. It was the most informal she'd seen him since that disastrous Sunday morning 5 weeks ago. He looked tired, older, but there was something different in his expression, a softness that hadn't been there before. Madelyn, he said quietly, thank you for coming. Thank you for having me, she replied, the formality absurd given everything between them. Ethan's already here, Davis gestured toward the living room. He wanted to arrive early so we could talk before you got here. Madelyn's stomach knotted. What did you talk about? Ground rules, Davis said. Boundaries. How we're going to navigate this situation without destroying each other in the process. He paused. And I owe you an apology. You owe me what? The legal threats, Davis said. My lawyers contacted your lawyer about revisiting the divorce settlement. That was a mistake. I was angry and hurt. and I wanted you to feel even a fraction of the pain I was feeling. But Ethan made it very clear that weaponizing the legal system would only drive him further away from both of us. I wouldn't have blamed you, Madelyn said, for wanting to hurt me back. No, but our son would have blamed me, Davis replied. And I've already lost 22 years with him. I'm not losing one more day because I couldn't control my anger. He led her into the living room, where Ethan sat on a cream-colored sofa, looking like he belonged in this world of luxury and success. He stood when Madelyn entered, and the smile he gave her was tentative, but genuine. "Mum," he said, "glad you made it." They sat in a triangle formation, Madelyn and Davis in armchairs, Ethan on the sofa between them like a referee preparing for a boxing match. "So," Ethan began, pulling out a small notebook, "I've been doing a lot of thinking and even more therapy these past few weeks. Dr. Richardson helped me understand that we're not going to fix 22 years of damage in one conversation, but we can start establishing a framework for moving forward." "You made a list," Madelyn observed, recognizing her son's coping mechanism. When Ethan was overwhelmed, he made lists. 17 pages of lists, Ethan confirmed. "But I narrowed it down to the essentials. First, complete honesty from this point forward. No more secrets. No more protecting each other from difficult truths. We're all adults, and we can handle uncomfortable conversations." Both Madelyn and Davis nodded. "Second, we acknowledge that everyone in this room made mistakes. Mom, you made catastrophic choices that hurt Davis and denied me a relationship with my father. Davis, you were so absorbed in your work that you didn't notice your wife was drowning. And I," Ethan's voice cracked slightly, "I'm choosing to believe that both of you acted from a place of fear rather than malice, because the alternative makes it impossible for me to have a relationship with either of you." "Ethan," Davis said gently, "you don't have to forgive us to move forward." "Actually, I think I do," Ethan replied. "Dr. Richardson says holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I don't want to spend the rest of my life poisoned by what happened before I was even born." Madelyn felt tears streaming down her face. She didn't bother wiping them away. "Third," Ethan continued, "we establish boundaries. Mom, you need to accept that I'm going to have a relationship with Davis and his family. That means family dinners where you're not invited, holidays where I might choose to spend time with the Walkers instead of you, and conversations about my life that don't include you." The words stung, but Madelyn nodded. "I understand. Davis, you need to accept that Mum raised me. She was there for every skinned knee, every bad grade, every heartbreak. She's earned her place in my life, and building a relationship with you doesn't mean diminishing the relationship I have with her." "Agreed," Davis said immediately. "I would never ask you to choose." "Good," Ethan said, "because fourth, I'm not choosing. I'm 22 years old, and I'm starting my career, and I'm figuring out who I am as an adult. I need both of my parents in my life, even if that's complicated and messy and requires all of us to be uncomfortable sometimes." "What about Isabella?" Madelyn asked quietly. "Have you thought about how she fits into this?" Davis and Ethan exchanged a look. "Actually," Davis said, "that's something Ethan and I discussed before you arrived. Ethan wants to meet his sister, but we want to handle the introduction carefully. Isabella is going through her own challenges right now. Adolescence is hard enough without adding a secret half-brother to the mix. I was thinking we could start slowly," Ethan added. "Maybe Davis mentions that he has a son from a previous relationship. Lets Isabella process that information, and then we arrange a casual meeting. Coffee, or a walk in the park. Something low pressure where she doesn't feel ambushed." "That's very thoughtful," Madelyn said. "I learn from experience," Ethan replied with a hint of irony. "Sunday morning ambushes don't work out well for anyone." Despite everything, Madelyn found herself smiling. "There's something else we need to discuss," Davis said, his tone shifting to something more serious. "The internship. Ethan's work has been exceptional, truly groundbreaking. But given our relationship, there's an inherent conflict of interest in him working directly under my leadership." "Are you firing me?" Ethan asked, alarmed. "God, no," Davis said quickly. But I think we need to establish some professional boundaries. I've spoken with Marcus Rodriguez in the analytics division. He's agreed to take over as your direct supervisor. You'll still work on the same projects, but Marcus will handle your performance reviews, compensation decisions, and day-to-day management. That makes sense, Ethan said slowly. But won't people wonder why the CEO's personal intern got transferred to a senior vice president? Let them wonder, Davis said. I'm not announcing our relationship to the entire company. That's your decision to make when you're ready. But I'm also not going to compromise your professional development or open the company to accusations of nepotism by keeping you directly under my supervision. What about after the internship ends? Ethan asked. I'm graduating in May. I was hoping, he hesitated, I was hoping there might be a full-time position at Walker Technologies. There will be, Davis assured him. But again, Marcus will make that hiring decision based on merit. I'll recuse myself from the process entirely. If you get a job offer, it'll be because you earned it, not because you're my son. Ethan nodded, looking relieved. Now, Davis continued, there's something I need to say to both of you. Something I've been thinking about for weeks. He took a deep breath. When Madelyn left 22 years ago, I was devastated. I spent years trying to understand what I'd done wrong, how I'd failed so catastrophically that my wife disappeared without a word. Madelyn opened her mouth to speak, but Davis held up a hand. I'm not finished. I've had a lot of time to reflect on who I was back then. I was ambitious to the point of obsession. I loved Madelyn, but I loved my work more. I told myself I was building a future for us, but the truth is I was building a future for me and expecting her to wait patiently in the background while I did it. Davis. Madelyn tried again. The point is, Davis said, I'm not blameless in what happened. I created an environment where you felt you couldn't tell me you were pregnant, where you felt your only option was to run. I can't forgive the lying, and I can't forgive being kept from my son. But I can understand how you got there, and I can acknowledge my role in pushing you to that point. That doesn't excuse what I did, Madelyn said. No, Davis agreed, but it provides context, and I've learned that context matters. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 22 years settling around them like dust. I have a question, Ethan said suddenly, for both of you. If you could go back to that moment, Mom, when you found out you were pregnant, Davis, when you came home to find Mom gone, what would you do differently? Madelyn considered the question carefully. I would tell Davis the truth. I would give him the chance to be the man I hoped he could be, instead of assuming he'd fail. And I would get help, therapy, counseling, support from friends. I wouldn't try to carry everything alone. I would have noticed my wife was struggling, Davis said. I would have put down the laptop and actually looked at her, actually asked how she was doing instead of assuming everything was fine. And when she left, I would have tried harder to find her. I would have, his voice broke, I would have fought harder for us. But you didn't know there was an us to fight for, Madelyn said softly. I made sure of that. We both made mistakes, Davis said. The question is, can we learn from them? Can we be better co-parents than we were spouses? I think we have to try, Madelyn said. For Ethan's sake, if nothing else. Not just for my sake, Ethan interjected. For your own sakes too. You're both going to be in my life for the rest of my life. Graduations, weddings, grandchildren someday. You can spend the next 50 years avoiding each other and making everything awkward, or you can figure out how to be in the same room without bleeding all over each other. When did you get so wise? Davis asked, echoing Madelyn's words from earlier in the week. When I got stuck between two brilliant people who'd made catastrophically stupid choices, Ethan replied. Someone had to be the adult in this situation. Despite the heaviness of the conversation, they all laughed. So what now? Madelyn asked. Where do we go from here? We take it one day at a time, Ethan said. We have regular check-ins, maybe weekly dinners, just the three of us, where we talk about how this arrangement is working. We establish traditions. We learn how to be a family, even if it's not a traditional family structure. And Isabella? Madelyn asked. I'll talk to her next week, Davis said. I'll explain that I have a son from my first marriage and that he wants to meet her. I'll let her process that at her own pace. And when she's ready, we'll arrange an introduction. I'm nervous about meeting her, Ethan admitted. What if she hates me? What if she resents me for existing? Then we deal with that, Davis said. But I don't think she will. Isabella has been asking for siblings since she was 5 years old. Finding out she has a brother might be the best news she's heard in years. Even a brother who's old enough to be her. Ethan paused. What am I to her? I'm not quite old enough to be her parent, but I'm definitely not a peer. You're her brother, Davis said simply. The age gap doesn't change that. They talked for another hour, working through logistics and emotions, establishing boundaries and breaking down walls. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of tension when old hurts resurfaced, but they worked through them. Finally, as the afternoon light began to fade, Ethan stood. I should probably get going, he said. I have a paper due Monday that I've been neglecting. Of course, Davis said, standing as well. Then hesitantly, Ethan, would it be okay if I hugged you? Ethan looked surprised and nodded. Yeah, that would be okay. Davis crossed the room and embraced his son for the first time in 22 years. Watching them, Madelyn felt her heart break and heal simultaneously. When they separated, Ethan turned to Madelyn. You coming, Mom? In a minute, she said. I need to talk to Davis about something first. After Ethan left, Madelyn and Davis stood awkwardly in his living room. Thank you, Madelyn said, for giving me a chance, for not destroying me when you had every right to. Destroying you would mean destroying Ethan's mother, Davis replied. And despite everything, I can see that you love our son. That matters. I do love him, Madelyn said. More than anything in this world. Then we have that in common, Davis said, and maybe that's enough to build on. Madelyn nodded, then turned to leave. At the door, she paused. Davis, I really am sorry. For all of it. I know, he said. And someday, that might be enough. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. And for the first time in 5 weeks, Madelyn felt like she could breathe. 3 months later, Ethan stood outside the flagship Walker Technologies building, watching the spring sunshine reflect off the glass facade. In his hand was an envelope, his official job offer as a junior data analyst in the analytics division. Marcus Rodriguez had called him into his office that morning with a grin that telegraphed good news before he'd even opened his mouth. Congratulations, Wilson, Marcus had said, sliding the offer letter across his desk. You earned this. Best intern I've supervised in 15 years, and I've supervised a lot of interns. Thank you, sir, Ethan had replied, trying to maintain professional composure while internally screaming with joy. I'm not supposed to tell you this, Marcus had added, lowering his voice conspiratorially. But Davis didn't even look at your file during the hiring process. He recused himself completely. Let me and the hiring committee make the decision. So, when you accept this offer, and you'd better accept this offer, know that it's because you're brilliant, not because of whose son you are. Now, standing on the street corner, Ethan pulled out his phone and composed a group text to both his parents, something that still felt surreal even after 3 months of weekly dinners and awkward but genuine attempts at building a relationship. Ethan got the job offer, starting full-time in June after graduation, junior data analyst, $95K, base plus benefits. I know you both weren't supposed to be involved in the decision, but I wanted you to know. The responses came almost immediately. Mom, I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. We should celebrate. Dinner at Antonio's? Davis, congratulations, son. You've earned this. And yes to dinner, but let me take you somewhere nicer than Antonio's. How about per se? Mom, Antonio's has sentimental value. It's where we celebrated Ethan's high school graduation. Davis, point taken. Antonio's it is. Ethan smiled at the exchange. 3 months ago, his parents could barely be in the same room without tension crackling between them like electricity. Now they could text about dinner plans without everything devolving into passive-aggressive warfare. Progress came in small increments. His phone buzzed again. Isabella, Dad just told me you got the job. Congrats, big brother. Does this mean you'll finally teach me some of your coding tricks? Ethan's smile widened. Meeting Isabella had been one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of his life. He'd imagined dozens of scenarios, her hating him, resenting him, refusing to acknowledge his existence. Instead, she'd bounded into the coffee shop where they'd arranged to meet, thrown her arms around him, and declared that having a brother was the coolest thing that's happened since Dad let me get a puppy. "You have a puppy?" had been Ethan's eloquent response. "Her name is Algorithm," Isabella had said proudly. Dad tried to argue that it wasn't a proper name for a dog, but I told him it was perfectly logical for a Walker family pet. They'd fallen into an easy friendship, texting almost daily about everything from Isabella's struggles with pre-calculus to Ethan's dating disasters. She was whip-smart, funny, and had inherited both Davis's brilliance and a warmth that must have come from her mother. Within weeks, Ethan couldn't imagine his life without his little sister in it. Ethan then texted back, "Deal. But you have to promise to actually pay attention and not just use learning to code as an excuse to avoid doing your homework." Isabella, "I would never." "Okay, maybe sometimes. See you at Sunday dinner?" Sunday dinners had become a sacred tradition. Every week, the Walker family, Davis, Isabella, and now Ethan gathered at Davis's penthouse for a meal that had evolved from awkward and stilted to genuinely enjoyable. Sometimes they cooked together, sometimes they ordered in, and occasionally Davis's girlfriend Claire joined them. Claire's introduction into the family dynamic had been another adjustment. She was a literature professor at Columbia, warm and insightful with a talent for diffusing tension with well-timed humor. Ethan had liked her immediately. More importantly, Isabella adored her, and Claire treated Ethan's sudden appearance in Davis's life with graceful acceptance. "My father had a secret family in New Jersey," Claire had confided to Ethan during their first meeting. "3 kids, a whole other life we knew nothing about. So trust me, I understand complicated family situations. At least your dad didn't know you existed. Mine was actively maintaining 2 households and lying to everyone involved." The comparison had made Ethan feel oddly better about his own situation. "Ethan, wouldn't miss it. Should I bring anything?" "Isabella, just yourself. And maybe those chocolate chip cookies you made last time." Dad ate half the batch and then complained about his trainer yelling at him. "Ethan, your dad needs to learn some self-control." "Davis, I can see these texts, you know, and I have excellent self-control. Your cookies are just unreasonably delicious." Ethan laughed aloud, drawing curious looks from passing pedestrians. 3 months ago, the idea of joking with Davis about anything had seemed impossible. Now, it felt natural. Then his phone buzzed with a different notification, an email from his thesis advisor. Subject, "Excellent news. Ethan, your senior thesis has been selected for publication in the Journal of Applied Data Science. This is a significant achievement for an undergraduate. The review committee was particularly impressed with your novel approach to algorithmic bias detection. Congratulations. You should be very proud. Dr. Sarah Chen." Ethan stared at the email in disbelief. Publication. His thesis was going to be published. He immediately forwarded it to both his parents and Isabella, then started walking toward his mother's apartment in Brooklyn. Some news needed to be delivered in person. Madelyn was grading papers when her doorbell rang. She glanced at her phone, 2:47 p.m. She wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, she saw Ethan, practically vibrating with excitement. "Mom, you're not going to believe," he started the moment she opened the door. "Your thesis is being published," Madelyn finished, pulling him into a hug. "I got your email." "Ethan, this is incredible." Dr. Chen said it's rare for undergraduate work to get published in a peer-reviewed journal, Ethan said, following her into the small living room. "And the research I did during my internship, well, the research Marcus supervised contributed to the methodology." "I'm so proud of you," Madelyn said, her eyes filling with tears. "Your father would be—" She stopped, correcting herself. "Davis is going to be so proud when he sees this." The slip no longer felt as painful as it once had. For 22 years, your father had been a nebulous concept, a missing piece Madelyn had trained herself not to think about. Now Davis was a real presence in Ethan's life, and Madelyn was learning to make space for that reality. He already responded, Ethan said, showing her his phone. Davis's text was characteristically concise but warm. Exceptional work. This deserves a proper celebration. Name the place. He wants to celebrate, Madelyn observed. I was thinking we could all celebrate together, Ethan said carefully. You, me, Davis, maybe Claire and Isabella too. A real family dinner to mark the occasion. Madelyn hesitated. The weekly dinners had been going well, but they were just her and Ethan, their established dynamic with new honesty and understanding. Adding Davis to the mix changed everything. I know it's a lot, Ethan said, reading her expression. But Mum, I want both my parents there for the big moments in my life. Graduation is coming up in 6 weeks. I want you both there. I want to take pictures with both of you. I want to celebrate with my whole family, complicated as it is. Of course, Madelyn said, pushing down her discomfort. Of course I'll be there, for all of it. There's something else, Ethan said, his tone shifting. Davis mentioned that his parents, my grandparents, want to meet me. He said he'd understand if I wasn't ready, but they're asking. Madelyn felt her chest tighten. Richard and Eleanor Walker, the people who'd made her feel inferior and unwelcome throughout her brief marriage to their son. The people who'd probably celebrated when she disappeared. How do you feel about that? She asked carefully. Nervous, Ethan admitted. Davis says they're different now, mellowed with age. But I remember some of the things you told me about how they treated you. And I'm not sure I want to build a relationship with people who made you feel unwelcome. Ethan, Madelyn said firmly, you can't base your relationship with your grandparents on my experience with them 2 decades ago. People change. And their family, your family. If you want to meet them, you should meet them. But what if they ask about you? What if they say terrible things about the choices you made? Then you'll defend me or you won't, Madelyn said. But either way, you deserve to know them and let them know you. My complicated history with the Walkers shouldn't prevent you from having your own relationship with them. Ethan studied her face. You've really changed, you know. 3 months ago, I think this conversation would have been a lot more painful for you. 3 months ago, I was still trapped in fear and guilt, Madelyn said. Dr. Richardson, my therapist, not yours, has been helping me understand that I can't control how everyone reacts to my choices. I can only control how I move forward. And moving forward means supporting you in building relationships with everyone in your extended family, even the people I'd rather avoid. You're seeing a therapist? Ethan looked surprised. 2 a week, Madelyn confirmed. After everything exploded, I realized I needed professional help processing my choices and their consequences. Dr. Richardson specializes in complex family dynamics and the long-term impacts of secret keeping. She's been instrumental in helping me understand why I made the choices I did without excusing those choices. That's really good, Mum, Ethan said. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. I'm trying, Madelyn said. Some days are harder than others, but I'm trying. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows of the apartment where Madelyn had raised Ethan alone for 22 years. Can I ask you something? Ethan said finally. Do you regret marrying Davis? Not leaving him, not keeping me a secret, but the marriage itself. Do you regret that? Madelyn considered the question carefully. No, she said. I regret how young we were, how unprepared for marriage and adult life. I regret that we didn't have the tools to communicate effectively or ask for help when we needed it. But I don't regret the marriage itself. Davis is a good man, and that marriage gave me you. How could I regret anything that led to you? Even with all the pain that came after? Even with all of that, Madelyn confirmed. Would I make different choices if I could go back? Absolutely. But I can't go back. I can only move forward and try to be better than I was. Ethan hugged her tightly. You're doing great, Mom. Better than great. I know this hasn't been easy for you, watching me build a relationship with Davis and his family, but you're handling it with so much grace. I don't always feel graceful, Madelyn admitted. Sometimes I feel jealous and scared and small, but those feelings are mine to manage, not yours to accommodate. Her phone buzzed with a text from Davis. Ethan suggested a celebration dinner with everyone. Are you comfortable with that? If not, we can do separate celebrations. The fact that he'd asked, that he'd given her an out, meant everything. Madelyn, I'm comfortable with it. Let's celebrate our son's achievement together. Davis, thank you. Saturday at 7? I know a place that accommodates large groups. Madelyn, Saturday at 7 works. I'll be there. She showed Ethan the exchange. Looks like we're having a family dinner, a real family dinner, Ethan said, grinning. With both my parents, my sister, and my dad's girlfriend. It's almost like we're a normal family. We're never going to be a normal family, Madelyn said. But maybe we can be a functional one. That's probably the best we can hope for. I'll take functional, Ethan said. Functional is a huge upgrade from where we were 3 months ago. 6 weeks later, graduation day. The Columbia University graduation ceremony was a blur of navy blue robes, tasseled caps, and proud parents wielding cameras like weapons. Madelyn sat in the family section, 3 rows from the front, with an empty seat beside her. Davis arrived 10 minutes before the ceremony started, looking harried. Sorry, he said, sliding into the seat next to her. Traffic on the FDR was a nightmare. Did I miss anything? Just the opening remarks, Madelyn said. They're about to start calling names. This was the first time they'd sat together at a public event, presenting themselves as Ethan's parents to the world. Madelyn had expected it to feel awkward, but instead it felt oddly right. He's going to do great things, Davis said quietly, watching the sea of graduates. He already is, Madelyn replied. When Ethan's name was called, Ethan Davis Wilson, magna cum laude, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Data Analytics, they both stood and cheered, embarrassing their son exactly as parents were supposed to do at graduation. After the ceremony, they took pictures, individual photos with each parent, then at Ethan's insistence photos with both parents flanking him, all 3 of them smiling. One more, Isabella called out, wielding Ethan's phone. Everyone together. So they posed Madelyn and Davis on either side of Ethan. Isabella squeezed in next to her brother, Claire standing slightly off to the side but still part of the frame. A family, unconventional and complicated but undeniably real. Later, at the celebration dinner, Davis stood and raised his glass. To Ethan, he said, who somehow turned out to be an exceptional human being despite having the 2 most flawed people in New York as his parents. Hey, Madelyn protested, laughing. I'm including myself in that assessment, Davis assured her. Then, more seriously, but in all honesty, Ethan, your mother did an incredible job raising you. Whatever mistakes were made, whatever pain resulted from choices made 22 years ago, they led to this moment. And I wouldn't change this moment for anything. Here, Claire said softly. To Mom, Ethan said, raising his own glass. Who showed me what unconditional love looks like, even when she was scared. And to Davis, who's teaching me what it means to build something meaningful. I'm lucky to have both of you. They drank, and Madelyn felt tears streaming down her face, not tears of sadness or regret, but of gratitude. For this moment, for second chances, for the messy, complicated family they were building together. And to Isabella, Ethan added, the best sister a guy could ask for, even if she does text me at 2 a.m. with math questions. That was one time, Isabella protested, and it was a really hard problem. They laughed, and the conversation flowed easily, naturally. This was her family now expanded, redefined, but hers nonetheless. As the evening wound down and they prepared to leave, Davis pulled Madelyn aside. Thank you, he said simply, for raising him right, for giving me a chance to know him, for being here tonight. Thank you for not hating me, Madelyn replied, for understanding that I made terrible choices from a place of fear, not malice. I don't hate you, Davis said. I'm not sure I ever really did. I was hurt and angry and betrayed, but underneath all of that, You were my first love, Madelyn. That doesn't just disappear, even after 22 years. We were kids, Madelyn said. We were, Davis agreed. But we made something beautiful together. Look at him, brilliant, kind, thoughtful. We did that, separately in very different ways, but we both contributed to making him who he is. We did, Madelyn said. And I hope we're finally learning how to do this together. One day at a time, Davis said. That's all we can do. Ethan appeared in the doorway, Isabella by his side. Are you two coming? Isabella wants ice cream, and apparently I'm required to accompany her because that's what big brothers do. Those are the rules, Isabella confirmed solemnly. Madelyn and Davis exchanged a look, a moment of shared parenting amusement that felt like a small miracle. We're coming, they said in unison, then laughed at the synchronicity. As they walked out into the warm spring night, Ethan between his parents and Isabella chattering excitedly about the ice cream shop that served nitrogen-frozen desserts, Madelyn realized something profound. They were going to be okay. Not perfect, not without struggles or complicated emotions, but okay. And sometimes, okay was more than enough. It was everything. 1 year later, the email notification appeared on Ethan's phone as he sat in his office at Walker Technologies, now a full-time junior data analyst with his own small team and a reputation for innovative thinking. Subject: wedding invitation. He opened it curiously, then smiled. Davis and Claire were getting married. Small ceremony, close friends and family only. And Ethan was being asked to stand as Davis's best man. He immediately texted his mother, "Did you know Davis and Claire were engaged? Mom, he called me last week to ask if I'd be comfortable with them getting married." Very thoughtful of him. I told him congratulations, and that of course I'd be comfortable. I'm happy for them. Ethan, he wants me to be his best man. Mom, that's wonderful. You should absolutely say yes. Ethan, are you sure? I know this might be weird for you. Mom, Ethan, your father is moving forward with his life. That's healthy and good. I'm moving forward with mine. Dr. Richardson says I'm making excellent progress. Ethan, are you dating someone? Mom, maybe. His name is Michael. He's a history professor at NYU. We've been seeing each other for 2 months. Nothing serious yet, but he's kind and patient and doesn't run away screaming when I explain my complicated family situation. Ethan, I want to meet him. Mom, when it's time. For now, just know that I'm happy. Really, genuinely happy. And you should be Davis's best man. He's earned the right to have his son stand with him on his wedding day. Ethan typed his response to Davis. I'd be honored to be your best man. The reply came immediately. Thank you, son. This means everything. 2 words that a year ago would have felt impossible. Son and everything. But impossible things happened all the time. Families broke and rebuilt themselves. Secrets destroyed and ultimately healed. And sometimes, just sometimes, the worst mistakes led to the most beautiful outcomes. Ethan looked at the photo on his desk taken at his graduation, with both his parents smiling on either side of him. A family, unconventional and hard-won, but completely, perfectly his. He had his mother's strength and his father's brilliance. He had a sister who adored him. He had a career he loved, and he had the truth, painful, complicated, but finally, blessedly true. That was more than enough. That was everything. The end.